Well, greetings, Audacy family. My name is Taryn Daly, and I am thrilled to be hosting a check-in with Tears for Fears. I have Roland Orzabal and Kurt Smith on video today, and what a pleasure to see you both. You look fantastic. What is the secret to keeping so youthful and that beautiful glow that I'm seeing today?
Love. The love of a good woman. I mean, or I mean, I don't know. I mean,
well, the love of good women.
Perfect. I like it.
Of course, about children, not about.
Well, thank you guys so much for getting together today. I'm very thrilled to see that you guys have been back together, back at it. You have a new album coming out end of February called The Tipping Point, and then you're embarking on a tour shortly thereafter. The last few years have been really weird. Can you kind of walk us through the timeline of getting back together and making new music with a pandemic hanging over our heads?
Well, we started making this album about 7 years ago. Before that, and following the release of Everybody Loves a Happy Ending, we did a lot of touring. So we've been working together for many, many, many years. But this album was a bit of a strange one. We started off trying to sort of work with modern songwriters, trying to get this hit single. But it was only at the beginning of 2020 when we sat down and looked at what we have and got together and decided we were going to go in a completely different direction, that we weren't going to worry about singles. We were just going to worry about making a great album. And that's when it all started to come together. But that was a month before lockdown #1 started in Britain. So the whole landscape, strangely enough, or horrible as it was, it kind of made it easier for us to make the album.
Yeah, I mean, the hard part was getting together after that point. You know, we started writing at the beginning of 2020, or writing the newer material. We had 5 songs we kept from the old sessions that we really liked the songs. We knew we had to update the recordings, but we liked the songs. And then we went about finding the rest of the album. So we were doing that sort of via email for a while, until we managed to get Roland back in the country at I think it was the end of August, beginning of September, somewhere around there. And then by December, by Christmas time, we were finished. So the actual process, once we'd found out what it was we wanted to achieve, was relatively quick.
Well, that's very exciting, and congratulations. I know it's, been a weird last couple of years, but, the new music that we've been able to consume as fans is kind of the glue holding it all together right now. So we appreciate you guys, bringing this to all of your fans all across the globe. One thing I'm super excited about with this tour coming up is the fact that you guys are bringing Garbage out with you. And Shirley Manson was kind of one of those female vocalists as I was growing up that, I just loved her. And she kind of had that punk rock attitude. And I know you guys have that too. And so I was wondering, how did that connection come to be?
Well, I mean, it was really what happens with touring. You get suggestions thrown at you of people to tour with you, and Garbage seemed a good fit. We didn't want anyone, that sort of started when we started, because then you get tied and labeled to a decade, unfortunately. So we were trying to find someone that was certainly younger than us, and Garbage seemed a good fit. I've met Shirley, and I've met Butch before, and they're nice people. So I think it will be an easy one for us to do.
Well, that's awesome. I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys share a stage. Both Garbage and Tears for Fears, you guys have been involved in many of the greatest soundtracks ever created in the world of film. And some of your songs are the most recognizable, especially dating back to those, early years of the 80s. And you guys were just kids when that electronic explosion was happening. What was it like being at kind of the forefront of that movement that is still very much a movement today?
Well, we were very lucky. I mean, that's what we have to, we have to realize. Electronica was, Kurt and I were sitting in his apartment in Bath in the West Country of England and listening to the radio, and we were kind of in a sort of power pop punk, mod band, and #1 was Gary Newman's our friends Electric, and we just looked at each other and said, what the? And so that really started it. And then there were other bands at the time as well, like Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark, Depeche Mode, that were Human League, what has recently been called utopian bands, if you see what I'm saying, so Kraftwerkian. And then everyone could only play one note on a keyboard at one time. But we were guitarists. So I think we brought something else to the table. And we became very good very quickly at arranging simple songs with keyboards.
Well, I love that. And, when I think about, some of the great soundtracks that I've enjoyed, one that comes to mind, one of my favorite movies in its entirety is Donnie Darko. And you guys have not one, but two songs involved on that soundtrack, one of which is your own, and then a really beautiful cover of Mad World. And I recently saw that Lorde has covered you guys. Maybe name another artist that kind of blew you away when they put their spin on one of your great songs.
Well, those two are great examples of someone taking a song and making it completely different. The Mad World, Gary Jules, Michael Andrews version definitely put a whole new emphasis on lyric. And ours, we tend to couch those lyrics in more upbeat backing tracks. So in that sense, the way it was recorded and done was more in tune with the lyric. And I think the same goes for Everybody Wants to Rule the World, Lorde's version, which was in the Hunger Games. It's a lot darker than our version. Our version is very poppy, but again, the lyrics are darker. So in that sense, it was done more in tune with the lyrics. But other people have sampled us in interesting ways, like Kanye and Drake and The Weeknd used Pearl Shelter. So, what was interesting with those versions were these sort of modern day artists taking the songs, all of the songs they took were from The Hurting, from our first album, which actually wasn't very big in America. So they really mined the sort of history of Tears for Fears and went back to our very first album and took samples from there.
So if you go back to kind of like the early days when you guys were just starting out, imagine if social media had been a thing then. What would that have been like for you?
Oh, I'm glad it wasn't. Just imagine if you were like one of the biggest bands in the world and you were on Twitter or something like that. Oh my God. You'd be on it all day, wouldn't you?
Mm-hmm.
And you'd be constantly having to watch what you say every day, I'm sure,
Absolutely. And you guys have a great social media following. And I love seeing all the posts and the throwbacks and what you guys are up to in the tour promotion. And it's really brought the world together where you're able to connect with fans all over the globe through, just this like simple platform. What has been, would you say, one of the greatest benefits of being so active on social media?
Well, I think, it's great. I mean, it's a level playing field nowadays, it seems, what with YouTube and with streaming. You have suddenly access to a massive, massive amount of people. And they're flitting from, current acts through to the 90s, the early 2000s, and back to the 80s and beyond. So I just think we're just very, very lucky with that.
I mean, I think
absolutely
another advantage, I think, of social media when you have some presence on it, personally, is that you can become slightly normalized. So because you have a direct connection to an audience, if you talk to them, they don't look at you as some kind of idol, someone who's untouchable. You become a normal person to them. So I find that's an advantage.
I love that. And you mentioned streaming as far as like music and connecting with audiences that way. But let's talk about another kind of streaming. Let's talk about what shows you guys have been binging or documentaries you've been into, especially with people kind of not doing much except for hanging out at home. What shows have you just become completely obsessed with?
Joe Rogan. Russell Brand's the man.
Yeah. Yeah, YouTube. Russell Brand is great.
Russell Brand, Don't Look Up.
Oh, I just watched that. It was fantastic.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Great.
Incredible. Yeah. Love that.
Myself and my wife have been more getting into sort of British crime, mystery, psychological thrillers things. I think we've watched everything British we could possibly watch in the last year and a half.
I love that. I really like Canadian comedies, and obviously Schitt's Creek was one that made me laugh. And Roland, you're probably the most famous Roland I know. Except then there's Roland Shit from Schitt's Creek, and then we also have the other famous.
I've often been called Roland Shit. Like
the other famous, yes. The other famous Roland is actually one from one of my favorite songs. It's Roland the Headless Thompson Gunner from Warren Zevon. I don't know if you know that song, but that's like the other Roland that I know.
Yes, that's
actually, I'm binging a Canadian TV show right now. Strangely, but Cardinal.
Oh,
Cardinal. Yeah. All right, I'm putting it on my list. I'm actually getting ready. I'm going to be going on my honeymoon here pretty quickly, and I'm going to be traveling to Costa Rica. I've never been there before. I haven't done much traveling at all. If I was to plan my next vacation on the other side of that, where would you guys recommend, part of the world that somebody see?
Well, it depends what time of the year you're going, but I would say if you like France, the Luberon. It's just about an hour north of Marseille, is absolutely remarkable. Kurt's a big Tuscany freak.
Ooh.
But for me, the most beautiful place in the whole world, and I've been to so many, is the Highlands of Scotland.
Mm.
You will be transported back in time. It's remarkable.
Well, I do have Scottish blood in me, so I definitely feel like I got to put that on my bucket list.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, that is awesome. So you guys are hitting the road in May on your big tour, and we're so thrilled. People can go to tearsforfears.com to check out all of the tour dates. Is there anywhere that you're hitting for the very first time when you embark on the Tipping Point tour?
Well, I think we've been to most of these places, haven't we? I mean, there are some venues in England because we're trying to, for obvious reasons, keep the shows outdoors.
Sure.
So there are certain venues, quite a few venues in Britain that we haven't played before because they're outdoors and these sort of big country houses. These venues have become bigger over the last few years. So that should be.
There is one place, Longleat.
Well, no, that's
outside of where we grew up in Bath. It's a place we used to go to as kids to see the lions of Longleat. So you would drive through this sort of the grounds of this grand manor house, and with the lions roaming and then these chimpanzees jumping on top of your car and pulling off the windscreen wipers. So we're going to be that's our local show. So that's going to be.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
that sounds delightful.
I think the lions won't be roaming, hopefully. But
are the lions big fans of your music, though?
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
They're Leos, aren't they? Yeah.
Well, this new album, it's such an exciting time. When I've listened to the tracks that you guys have released so far, it makes me just want to get up and dance. So I really look forward to having you guys out on tour, watching everybody dance. And thank you so much for bringing new music to us in 2022. Roland and Kurt, on behalf of Audacy, we'll see you guys out there. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great honeymoon.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. I will. All right. Bye, guys. Bye-bye.